Right.
I've forgotten how to do it.
I say about the news and that, and then we say it down in camera.
Is that how it works?
And then people slag us off in the comments.
Oh, it's really?
No, people are nice.
Really nice Facebook, I've decided.
People are nice.
About to have a long conversation about Facebook being lovely, so keep it up.
No, this is just Facebook. It's on YouTube as well. YouTube's a bit more like the Wild West.
Very much like the Wild West. There's that thumb thing. You know what I mean? The thumb thing. Which way you thumb this way, I think. There's loads and loads of studies that no one knows which way. You know the phrase, you know where thumbs up comes from?
Right, okay.
Do you know where it comes from?
No.
Okay, what used to happen was that in the...
I do know.
Go on.
It's something to do with battles and like old battles in England, and then like it's to do with archery.
No,
it's...
God,
let me say it and then see how close I am.
Oh, you are close.
No, I've got it wrong. What I'm thinking of V's.
V's is because...
I've still got my fingers.
Yeah, that's that.
Yeah, sound.
What I'm thinking of...
I don't know thumbs. Don't know.
Thumbs is Roman. Is from the Roman times, and what used to happen was at the end of a gladiatorial fight where someone had clearly won.
Yeah.
So the person who was overseeing it, who could be the consul in your ideal scenario, it's the emperor if it's a big one.
Yeah.
Either goes thumbs up or thumbs down to mean kill him.
Yeah.
So no one knows which way the thumb was. They just know that the thumb was involved. So when people do thumbs up, so it literally, so because it could go either way. Thumbs up could be thumbs up, kill him. Or thumbs down could be thumbs down. So I don't like him, kill him.
We're just guessing up's good.
We're just guessing up's good.
So all these people who put the thumbs up on nice Facebook status and things, they could be actually saying, do it, man.
Yeah. That's where it stems from in the first place.
There you go.
But no one knows. No one knows. Anyway, this is meant to be broadly speaking about football, but it's nice to be back.
It is. It's nice to have you back. I feel like I've run around less today as a consequence of you being here. So that's nice.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't be more sorry to John about yesterday.
We'll talk through yesterday for you. Neil was on holiday, which is fine. Everyone gets to go on holiday. Even Neil. He was meant to be back on Wednesday, so we thought back Wednesday. I'll schedule a really busy day for myself. Get straight in. Want to sort loads of things out. Then got stuck in Marrakesh airport.
Also, I do want to mention that it's compounded by Friday night football. Yeah. Because it's compressed the week.
So it's not all Neil's fault, although it felt like it yesterday. So I got to live Neil's really busy day yesterday as well.
Plus
as
your own day.
Yeah, so that was nice. I really enjoyed that.
But the content's all fabulous. £5 a month.
But no, today feels a bit more relaxed, so nice one. It's good to have you back.
Excellent.
Marrakesh. So, Liverpool.
Yeah.
A couple of stories that I want to talk about. The first one is Kirkland saying that he thinks Karius should be in on a Friday. He thinks he should be in, but I found it interesting his reasoning why he said, well, if he's been brought in for number one, then now he's ready to bring him in. And my reply was, well, has he been brought in as number one? Because no one's actually said that.
No.
Everyone kind of assumes, well, not everyone assumes, people assume, and it's this idea that all Klopp's ever said is, I want two good goalkeepers.
Yeah.
And he's only ever spoken highly of Mignolet, and people who speak to him privately say he means it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Karius has got to wait.
Well, I think he has got to wait, and I think he would have had to wait anyway. The rumours that were going on before the Arsenal game was that Mignolet was going to start.
Yeah.
And I think that he would have had to wait anyway. Now, how long he has to wait, I suspect he gets the Derby game. And it could be one of them that, for instance, if Mignolet has a bad evening on Friday and then Karius gets the Derby game,
he might be
as a good game, he then might just stay in situ and it goes like that. But I agree with you. I think that there's no... it wouldn't surprise me if Karius is number one by the end of the season, but I think that as and when that happens, there's going to be... I don't think... And there's lots of people who are presuming a lot. Yeah. And I think that's what you're driving at. There's a lot of people presuming a lot when there isn't actually that much evidence to go with the presumption. That said, I think you could see in pre-season that we were able to push 5-10 yards higher with Karius. I think we've actually done that reasonably well with Mignolet in goal so far this season, even in games where it hasn't gone so well for us. I think you've seen that. Burnley's the exception where they managed to get at us. But, I think that there's... I can see how Karius could help the shape of the side, but then he could only help the shape of the side until his first error, at which point everyone's saying, well, they need to drop back and they need to give him more cover and so on. And I actually think that Guardiola's response to Bravo with the weekend is one of the most interesting things in football for a while.
Yeah.
In that Bravo, if you saw the United City game and I was able to watch it, and Bravo does not have he doesn't have a conventional good game, but he's on the ball all the time and he's involved all the time and they're getting him involved and he's doing loads of things, but he's taking chances. And it's clear that the manager's come out post-match there and decided to say, I'm going to just big this lad up. And just to make this sort of a general football thing now, there's a lot of people who get very annoyed when teams get beat and the manager says something positive, where a player plays really poorly and the manager says something like Guardiola, who absolutely hammered how good Bravo was. And at the minute, for instance, there's people who are unhappy with Rodgers' comments after Celtic get beat 7-0 at Barcelona, but they just beat Rangers 5-1 the weekend. So he comes out and he says, I'm proud of these players are doing what they want. And I think there's this idea now, and I think it's a genuine sea change in football, that managers are very much into reinforcing good habits in footballers, and that years gone by, Rodgers, you just put 11 behind the ball at Barcelona, you hang on for dear life. If you get beat 2-0, everyone says, you know what, they've done well there. But Rodgers, in that instance, Klopp, about us playing out from the back, Guardiola about Bravo, the attitude is, no, they're doing what I want them to do. Yeah. So I'm going to reinforce that, and what I'm not going to do is slaughter them in public. Yeah.
Well, Jurgen Klopp's still saying we played well at Burnley. Yeah. And I'd argue with him to the end of the earth, but I think it's a lot of it is what you're saying. If he was to sit me down, he'd say, look, this is what I'm trying to get them to do. And they were doing a lot of that against Burnley. Now, when it got to the final ball, they were crap. But I'm really pleased with this. They were doing, this is what I'm trying to get Firmino to do. Look at him doing it there, for example. This is what I'm trying to get our midfield to do. Look at them doing it here. So I'm pleased with loads of aspects. So I don't want to go away and say, oh, they were absolutely rubbish today, because then they maybe stop doing the things that I want them to do that were actually right in the game, and we're still not improving the things that it don't. So I can kind of see that really as a manager. I mean, you've got to remember that managers watch games differently to what we do, and quite rightly, we don't want to be analysing sort of every little tiny detail when you're watching a game live. You just want to kind of get into it and get absorbed really. But they are watching it different, and I think if they can see the end game and they can see how something moves them further towards that, even if it's a defeat, then I think they are going to be positive.
And I think also what you don't get to do now, and I think as I say, football, it was a different game 30 years ago, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago. I think now one of the things that you've got to do is you've almost got to make them believe in the overall, this is the end game. Yeah. You've got to take them every day on the training field and go, this is the end game, and this is what we're playing it for, and this is what we're in it for. And I think that's quite difficult to do if, for instance, at the first sign of trouble, you're going, well, I wasn't convinced by him, or when you're setting them up for another match, you're actually setting them up differently. So, for instance, we're going to go, if you were to simply almost play this game against Chelsea as a one-off cup final on Friday, you could argue the smartest thing we could do would be, as much as possible, sit deep and see if we can invite them on. But we're not going to, I'd be surprised if we did that. Yeah. We may try and draw them out by passing the ball around, but we're not going to give away possession, because Jurgen Klopp wants to reinforce to his footballers, no, this is what I want you to do in every single game. Yeah. Not that we're going to change game by game by game. And it could be that a manager could say, well, I'm going to be the sort of manager who changes game by game by game, but you've almost got to do that first day of pre-season, the first day in the job. Whereas if you're going to be the sort of manager like Klopp and Guardiola, and for that matter Rodgers, you're going to say, no, I want you to be as good as the best you can be at playing this type of football. Yeah. And that's what we're about from minute one, and we will always be about that. And you can change it every now and again, I suspect, and Guardiola's as pragmatic as anybody else, but it's pragmatism in terms of saying, no, this is the football we're going to play. And I think it's generally just quite interesting, and I think it's something which I think is which gets overlooked when games begin to get pulled apart as one-offs. Yeah. We're as guilty of that as anyone else. Why didn't he do this? Why didn't he make that sub? Why didn't he change this? And I think you can argue that for certain games, as an example, the Europa League final, you can actually say, listen, this is a time, at that moment in that game, at that time, it's a time just to be pragmatic. It's the last game of the season and it's a final. And I think you can make that argument. But I think in terms of, for instance, home against Hull, Liverpool could do loads of things home against Hull. That'll do our heads in. They could be knocking it around from the back again. There could be two cock-ups that lead to goals. Do you know what I mean? But it's happening for a reason. Yeah. And it's been decided what that reason is, and it's not going anywhere. And that was the big thing I took from both watching, and I don't often get to watch sort of two games live in a day, and because I was on holiday and one of them was Liverpool and the times of them I did, and from watching City United and from watching Liverpool Leicester, it looked to me like there was three sides who knew exactly what they were about, and there was Manchester United. And Leicester go away from that and they go to Bruges and they win 3-0, and it's not as though the confidence is knocked by getting beat by 4 at Anfield. They still believe in the plan. You could still see what the manager's got them doing, playing the football that won them the league last year. Yeah. But he doesn't. The manager himself doesn't think, you know what, at half time he goes even more 4-4-2. If you see what I mean, he takes off a grafter when it was 4-4-1-1. He takes off a grafter and goes, no, we're going to absolutely look to turn these rounds and pin them back. That's what we're about, and it's what we believe in. And I just think it's quite an interesting thing. Whereas I thought United's first half and even second half, they just looked all at sea. Whereas all the way through the game, with the exception of that 10-minute patch after half time, City knew exactly what they were meant to be doing. And I think that Mourinho's very much I'll make decisions based upon what's in front of me manager, whereas Guardiola, Klopp and seemingly Ranieri with this Leicester side is like, no, this is what we do, and we're just going to keep doing it, and we think it'll get us results.
You have missed talking, haven't you?
I have. It's been a long time.
Okay, The other one I want to talk about is the Gerrard story. It's not massively new news, but it's a bit of confirmation. He said, I've had a chat with Jurgen, we get on really well. He hasn't offered me a job yet, which is fine. Do you know what? Have you finished Science book yet?
Yes.
I read most of it. No, I've read all of it, but I read most of it being dead jealous of Bayern Munich. And I think Bayern Munich's the kind of interested subplot behind the whole thing, because Didi Hamann bangs on about them in the late 90s. And there's obviously problems there because they all hate each other.
Yeah.
But there's loads of positives about it as well. And he talks about how there's always evolution. Bayern, there's never revolution. And I'm thinking, bloody hell, we had about 4 revolutions in the 90s. We seem to have one every 5 minutes. And it's not in the 90s, in the 2000s.
Both.
Yeah, we're just always having revolutions. And he talks about that. And then when Xabi Alonso talks about Bayern Munich again, he says, look, everything's set up for you to win. There's just no excuses. Everything's perfect for you. So you just got to go and win because you've got nothing to worry about. And I got dead jealous of Bayern Munich. And the Gerrard thing strikes me as because we haven't sorted something, and then becomes an issue.
Yep.
If Steven Gerrard had played his whole career at Bayern Munich, he'd have a job at Bayern Munich by now, and it wouldn't be a big deal. Whereas so now, to bring him back and to give him something almost seems like a big deal, and it almost feels like you're shoehorning him into something, like you're creating a role or whatever, or you're trying
It'd feel false.
And it feels like undermining Klopp in some way. Whereas at Bayern Munich, they'd have it all sorted. In fact, they'd probably decided at 27 what he was going to be doing at 35.
Yeah.
And it just annoys me that we haven't got a process within the football club to keep talent, and it's a really hard thing to bring back now, and that's what we got from when we spoke to John Barnes. He said, well how do you kind of bring it back? And it's dead hard, but I wish there was a thing in place where Liverpool was an evolutionary process and it was keeping talent.
But isn't that, I mean, you're right to criticise, and I actually wish, I agree, I have the same thing. Who's doing it? In England. And that for me is the kicker on this, and I think that I think it's one of the issues with English football. So Ferguson was having a bit of a go at it, and all that it's took since Ferguson going is Moyes comes in, Van Gaal comes in, and now it's Mourinho, and now it's completely all gone by the wayside. It's not just Giggs; it's even for instance, they haven't managed to find a place for Neville, Gary, for Scholes. I think Phil's not there anymore. I think Nicky Butt's hung on, and I think there might be one other who's hung around who I can't remember. But my point is, Ferguson, off the back of all the Ferguson-ness, and it doesn't last 5 years. Yeah. And you look at, is it happening at City? Is it happening at Chelsea? Is it happening at Chelsea? They've tried to get rid of John Terry 3 times. Is it happening at... Now, my point is... It
wouldn't surprise me if they try and do something similar with City.
I think they might do.
They're having a go with something at City, and they're having a go at building a football club, and it wouldn't surprise me if they start saying, well, these are our guys who do it, and Guardiola's obviously just the man to do that. But I don't know, maybe it is harder in England, or maybe we just don't have the culture of it, but I was just dead jealous.
I agree with you, and I think we don't have the culture of it, and I think it's the sort of thing that should be changed, and I think it's the sort of thing that I'd love to see Liverpool commit to and do, but then I think it needs everyone to have that sort of to sort of have that institutionalised patience. So again, to pull it back to the weekend, it sort of means you probably make a decision now that Lucas Leiva's not going anywhere. Like, that's it. For instance, he's one of the ones...
He's useful to our football club.
He's useful to the football club in a general sort of sense. You probably make a decision. You find a way to keep Kolo Touré on board last summer, maybe. I agree with you on Gerrard. I think that what you end up doing is... I think you end up, therefore, sort of having to culturally go. And you're right to say, at 27, they've probably got lads going away and doing... without anyone really knowing about it, courses or reading up on, you know what I mean? Beginning to think, because there's a point at which all humans, we all mature at different times, but it's fair to say that young men, even if they are footballers, and we can attach all the cliches around that, you're becoming a mature adult ready to explode into the world around the age of 27, 28, 29, and it's taken something like that, and that's why I think it's actually quite interesting the way the manager's talked about Lallana these last couple of days. Lallana's now 29, and is the sort of the idea that if he is a smart fella, and there's no reason to presume he isn't just because he's really good at football, is if he is a smart fella, to start trying to find something for him now, not least because he want to occupy his own time when he's not training. Yeah. And I think that's what the brilliant at the continent is. I think they understand, and I think there's different aspects to this, and I think that a lot of it's societal, but they understand that footballers are people much better than English football does. English football sort of finds ways just to presume. They'll just pick, Gary Neville's been left, broadly speaking, to pick stuff up from Ferguson. No one seemingly's got a grip of him at 28. He's got to either sort that out for himself, and then you speak to you'll speak to people and they'll say, he's really smart, Neville. He's a really smart fella. But at what point does Manchester United got, to the extent that he ends up all this issues around this hotel nonsense? Yeah. You know what I mean? Whereas Manchester United should be thinking, that fella's really smart. He could probably end up looking after or being a vice president of this bit of the business. And yet, even Manchester United, even under Ferguson, won where they tried to do it. And I think that the other thing that happens as well, everyone just thinks, oh, it's all going to be on the training ground.
Yeah, well, no, exactly. Where's Van der Sar's head of marketing or something at Ajax, isn't he?
It's all going to be training ground, it hasn't.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure that Van der Sar, I'm sure that Van der Sar's probably got got someone who works underneath him at marketing, who's better at it than he is in terms of the nuts and bolts, who understands that this is the way we do it at Ajax. The footballer looks after the department and we work with the footballer.
Yeah.
And so he's not thinking I want his job. He's thinking I've reached the peak of the marketing department here, because they're always going to put a footballer in that spec. I think it's just an interesting thing, and I think it's, you know, it's possibly a show, to be honest with you, or it's certainly sitting down and you could probably write 10,000 words about it, because I think it's so many factors of the way in which English football's evolved and what it's become.
Yeah, and I think we just view our footballers differently as well. There's this idea that I was like, oh, well, their footballers are cleverer over there and ours aren't. So then it's just not true. It's like, well, Glenn Johnson did the maths degree in his own time, you know what I mean? And then everyone's head fell off because they think Glenn Johnson's thick because sometimes he's out of position on a football pitch. And you're like, well, you know, I mean, there's arguments on whether he actually is, and you know, things like that. But you know, people kind of presume it. He's just sat at home doing a maths degree on his own. Now, maybe he should have been doing an accountancy course that Liverpool were paying for, and the idea of keeping Glenn Johnson involved in the football club. And, you know, there's arguments about whether he's the right person or whatever. Whether, you know, but for example, you know, everyone's head fell off when they found out that. And why shouldn't Glenn Johnson be good at maths?
Exactly. One, why shouldn't Glenn Johnson be good at maths? But two, and to pull it back to the English football thing, why is Van der Sar doing head of marketing at Ajax when he could be head of marketing at Manchester United?
Yeah.
We'll see you soon. That was good. All the content's as good as that. Promise. £5 a month.